The man who sent a threatening email to a Maricopa County supervisor was sentenced to 3 years probation. 44-year-old Ryan Hadland pleaded guilty to using an electronic communication to terrify, intimidate, threaten, or harass. Back in 2022, 4 days after the presidential election, Hadland sent a threatening email to Maricopa County Supervisor Bill Gates, who you see there. In that email, Hadland wrote about wanting to kill Gates by poisoning him. He originally faced up to 6 months in jail, but got probation instead. A judge ordered Hadland not to have any contact with Gates or his family.